Welcome to We Have That Podcast at Home. I'm on brand Rachel, and this is my off brand podcast, the only podcast to have interdimensional portals fueled by dark energy. Gamage is unfortunately out this week. He is undergoing a very important cosmetic butthole surgery. He got tired of being treated like he had a pink asshole, so we have just decided to drop the pretense, and he is getting his butthole dyed hot pink. I have heard that the recovery for this type of surgery is like it borderline perilous. So hopefully we'll have him back next week, but if not, we will not be doing whatever we spin the wheel for, and I'll just be hosting a memorial, and I'll be reading the eulogy I have ready for if this goes south. Each week, we spin a wheel and play Russian roulette with our success and find out the genre of the next week's podcast. This week is fiction, and actually, conveniently enough, this week, in Gamage's absence, we are joined by a guest host who is an interdimensional traveler, which is, like really exceptional timing for our fictional topic of the week. So why don't you introduce yourself?
I am the renowned bard Pepperjack. My full name is Arturo Pepperjack. I've had many companions over the years find my name excessively exotic and collectively cracked the silly moniker until it stuck.
That is an exceptional name, sir.
I don't even understand it myself. A Pepperjack? Ridiculous.
Do you guys not have you know what? We'll get to that question. We'll ask that later. What I would yeah. So what I would like to do before we get into the questions would just be to kind of like describe your visage to people.
What's wrong with my visage?
Um it's just different than really anything that we've seen here on our planet. So I just think it would be like important to note some of your features.
Ah, you mean my skin color? Yes, it's not the normal Gith skin color.
A little
The
bit
Gith
more
are
than
normally, how so?
Well, okay, so just to catch everybody up. So you appear to be Githyanki.
No, incorrect. I'm a Gith Zerai. Githyanki are lunatic space elves, while we are cultured philosophers and scholars.
Okay.
I will agree with your observation that we do look alike, but we are very different.
Gotcha. Okay, so for the listeners, a Gith Zerai, am I saying that right?
Yes.
A Gith Zerai and Githyanki are kind of similar looking in the lacking of a nose and sort of elf-like features with the high cheekbones and the kind of cat-like eyes and the pointy ears. I think the biggest thing that's different is the no nose thing is quite different than what we're used to here.
But I do have a nose.
It's
it
just like
smells,
a real small nose.
It's a nose.
It's
I'm
like
not
a
going to comment
nose
on your nose.
with the tip cut off.
No, there is no tip cut off. It is just my nose.
I apologize. So I'll just continue describing you, and then we'll get into some clarifying questions. So you're quite purple. You don't seem to have that sort of traditionally pallid, snot-colored skin, and you'll have to correct me because I've only really ever known about Githyankis. But I do gotta be honest. The more that I look at you, you're really giving me kind of like a small-nosed Shakespeare vibe. Do you guys get Shakespeare in your
Shakespeare?
universe?
I don't know what this Shakespeare is, but I'm pretty drug-free in my time.
He's not. I mean, I think he took a lot of drugs and alcohol when he was making his works. He's a playwright. Like he writes
A man of the theater.
Yeah, he is a theater man. He's a very famous theater man.
I too am a man of the theater.
Well, you guys look very, very similar. And your outfit is rather splendid. It's sort of like a tunic with leafy designs.
Oh, thank you. I picked it off of a spider corpse.
Oh, did you really?
Yes.
Did it fit the spider or?
No, it was loot. You just loot. You do not like loot spiders when you kill them.
No, usually the spiders that we kill
Fascinating.
are too small. So I don't think they can carry much loot, if any. The only loot that I've
Do
really
they drop
ever...
tiny clothing?
Unfortunately, no. The only loot that I've ever really seen a spider drop when I kill it is if you kill a spider while it's carrying its egg sac full of its babies. Usually the babies just kind of shoot out in every direction
Ah,
and start
a
running.
multi-kill.
Kind of. More like you kill it and then the babies surround you and then you have to go out of your way to kill all the tiny babies. So there's that.
Well, it does sound like a sticky situation.
Indeed, it's not great. It's not ideal. So, I guess let's start with the whole purple skin thing. So you're a Gith Zerai.
Yes.
How's that different than a Gith Yankee?
Well, we have different cultures, but we are more cultured. There's a lot more of the minds gathering where we're from, whereas the Githyanki are crazy warriors that vow to protect space. You're right in that my purple hue is abnormal. It is not. It is not supposed to be like this. We actually do share the same colored skin, the yellowish, or snot as you referred to it. But this purple hue is actually a sick joke of a curse, mocking the history of the Mind Flayer's subjugation of my people.
I have a lot of questions about that. I'm gonna start with, could you just explain a little bit about the Mind Flayer subjugation of your people? I think I quoted that correctly.
Yes, yes. Thousands of years ago, the Mind Flayers subjugated my people. That's it.
Can you define subjugated?
Enslaved?
Ah, thank you. Sorry, I didn't have my dictionary in front of me.
One day we broke free, and then our two clans basically split off, and one became the Githyanki, and the smarter, more pristine, higher breeding caliber of Gith went the other way as the Gith Zerai.
Would you say higher breeding means like the breeding of higher minds, or you guys try to make babies more?
Well, I think there's too many Githyanki anyway, so I can't even say more breeding. They breed a lot. They breed a lot.
Would you say that the Gith Zerai look at the Githyanki as kind of barbaric?
Savages.
All right.
No, I do have many barbarian friends, so I don't want to say barbaric. That's too much.
I see.
But
So
savages, yes.
Gotcha. I understand the distinction now. And so you're purple from a curse relating to this like mind flayer enslavement?
The curse, yes, the curse was placed on me by a xenophobic mermaid king as punishment for conducting scientific inquiry with his daughter.
What would you describe as scientific inquiry? Because that sounds like there's some certain connotations to what you're saying here, bud.
Well, fortification, my dear.
Did you say fortification?
Fornification. Do they not do they not fortificate in your world?
Are you saying fornicate?
Yes, fornicate. Do they not have fornicating on your world?
No, we have lots of that. So you were scientifically fornicating with a mermaid king's daughter?
Well, yes.
And he turned you purple.
He was quite upset by the ordeal.
Was he upset about this because your people are seen as lesser post enslavement, or was he just mad that you were fucking his daughter?
I don't think he took kindly to accidentally witnessing the plowing of his daughter's turd cutter. That is an image that will sit in his mind for millennia.
I have a letter that we won't read it now, but I think you'll love it. It's from the Victorian era of our time. And I think you'll really
Yes, you'll have to forward that through an email, I've learned.
Oh, do you get email where you're from?
I do get email now, yes. I'm actually living in this plane. I've met a wonderful human named Bradley who's been taking me around and allowing me to stay in his apartment.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
So
We've recently taken an outing to a movie theater, which is this fascinating pocket dimension of an epic memory.
And how did you feel about those, since it's not live theater?
It was boring.
Oh, you didn't like it?
The story was too long.
What did you go and see?
Casablancas.
Casablanca?
Some warlock spell of a name.
Casablanca?
Is that what it is?
I believe so.
What is that? What does that mean in your tongue?
I believe that's a different language, but it is the name for a place. It's not really going to make any sense to you, but it's a city in a place called Morocco.
It surely does not.
That's okay.
But yes, I was cursed. It's an unfortunate curse. The Mermaid King was way too racist and harsh on me, honestly.
So does being purple come with a lot of like weird interactions for you, or are people mostly cool with it?
I will be honest with you. Given my bloodline, I was already seen in a negative light, and now it is honestly a little better. I'm just seen as a dark elf who has lost his nose.
Oh, I see. So are the Githyanki and Githzerai like not generally socially accepted by other people?
A lot of us aren't. A lot of just species in general. Dark elves are seen as in negative as well, but less so than our people.
I see. So where exactly are you from?
My place of birth was the Githzerai Kresh on Limbo, but I was brought to the material plane at a far young age, so I grew up in a place called Junon.
You said a lot of words just now. It sounds like there's
That's
an
what speaking is.
implication that you grew up in one sort of universe, plane of existence, and then moved
Yes.
to a more material universe, plane of existence, a more physical world.
Have you ever seen somebody born somewhere and then grew up somewhere else?
Yes, it's more of the
It's a lot like that.
universe travel that I'm intrigued about, because I do know that you said you got here through interdimensional portals, but I really gotta tell you, I don't know much about interdimensional portals.
Well, from what I've seen, that makes a lot of sense.
You know, like, how did you get here? Because we don't really know a whole lot about interdimensional travel.
I just sailed across the astral sea. Do you not have an astral sea?
Well, we must have one since you got here on it, but I don't think we understand how to
Fascinating.
sail on it. So when you say sail, are you on a we have a, are you
Spelljammer,
familiar
yes.
with a spaceship?
I
Sort of like a tubular.
do
like-
not all ships take space?
Yes. Okay. So do you know what a boat is?
Well, yes, I came here on one. A spelljammer is what they're called. It's essentially a ship used to travel across water, but it is magically enchanted to sail across the astral sea.
I see. So that kind of answers my question. So you're using kind of like a big boat are the sails the same? Do they look the same, or are they different kind of sails to catch the astral
Some
wind?
have sails, but they are not completely necessary, no.
How do you propel yourself through the astral sea?
Well, I use what is known as a spell jamming helm. It's essentially just an artifact used to control the ship. It's a chair. I picked a wooden chair. It's simple. I don't like complicated. It's a chair.
How do you use the chair to propel the boat?
Oh my goodness! Are you gonna ask me how to wipe too? You sit in the chair and it goes.
Yeah, but like, is it reading your
What is
thoughts?
your
Like whoever.
physiology? Of course it does.
Well, I'm sorry. You're talking about something that we have no concept of here. I have questions. All right, so you sit in this chair and essentially you drive the boat with your mind.
Try. Yes, yes.
That's crazy. That's wild. Is that like a common mode of transportation for uh what?
If you're gonna travel the astral sea, yes.
Well, no, I more of mean so you said you grew up in the material plane, is that correct?
Correct.
And what was the name of your town or village or city?
Junon.
Junon? So is that a common form of transportation for people from Junon?
Not quite. Usually to travel to other planes, people use portals, dimensional doors, that sort of thing, but spelljammers aren't exactly common around the material plane. There's no point in using it there, you know?
I suppose that makes sense. So is the astral sea like a different plane, or is that how you travel between planes? So it's like fills in the empty space between them?
Ah, yes, you got it. That is absolutely correct. It
Very
is the space
interesting.
between space.
I see. So most people don't travel through this sea. They just take a portal like directly somewhere else. So is interdimensional travel super common for you guys?
It's not uncommon, but it's not. You can't find somebody on every corner of the streets being able to do this. No.
I see. Okay. Could you kind of describe the town or village where you're from, Junon? Like, what's that like? What kind of people live there?
Well, the original town, Junon, very grimy, very dirty. Blacksmiths, papersmiths, woolsmiths, all kinds of just crafty people who don't shower.
Are all of them called Smiths?
Well, if you smith, then yes, you're a smith.
Like, what kind of people live there? Because obviously you're a Githzerai, so are there Githyanki's? And then you mentioned something about dark elves. Like,
I
what sort
wouldn't
of
live near
races?
Githyanki's, no. Mostly just humans. It's a human city.
I see, I see. So there's no elves or dark elves or other Githzerai around?
Elves don't exactly come down to this kind of social environment with humans. No, they find themselves too high and mighty, even though we are higher and mightier. And the Githyanki, they're too busy eating mud.
Do they actually eat mud, or is that sort of a derogatory sentence?
It's not derogatory if it's true, but it is not true. No,
So it is a derogatory sentence?
I don't like how you're referring to me like that.
Well, I didn't refer to you in a derogatory fashion. I merely pointed out that you were being derogatory.
It's fine because the Githyanki are rubbish. They are trash. It is commonly known.
That they're trash people?
Yes, everybody on the coast also refers to them as trash.
I see, I see. So you live in Junan. What's the name of the I guess like the government or country that you live within?
The country? Yes,
Uh
the kingdom. It's
yeah,
the
yeah,
kingdom
yes,
of.
there you go.
I'm getting there. It's the kingdom of Farunal.
Farunal. Are there a lot of kingdoms where you're from? Like is Farunal pretty big?
There's just too many. Just way too many kingdoms.
So are they pretty small?
No, they're far larger.
So I mean it sounds sort of like your how many people live in a kingdom before I make this comparison?
I mean, thousands. I have no way of measuring that.
You guys don't have a census where you count how many people live somewhere?
A census.
Yeah, we have
I
people once a year go around to people's doors and they ask how many people live in there and then they collect all those numbers and add them up.
that that does seem like an invasion of privacy. You know that.
I didn't say it wasn't weird, but it is something that we do. So I take it you guys don't do that based off of your
No, we do
response.
not. That is strange behavior. I would
Um,
definitely speak to your king about that. That's not okay. Why
uh,
does your king need to know how many people there are?
so we don't have a kingdom. We have a it's called a country. It is kind of like a kingdom where there are boundaries that are shared with other kingdom-like countries. And then ours, the one that I live in particular, has a bunch of states, which are like sections of the kingdom.
States.
Yeah. But there's
Like
like
liquid and gas?
no, they're more of like imagine mini kingdoms within a kingdom.
Like a city. It's just a city.
No, so
Your
there's
kingdom has cities?
no, so there's like a hierarchy. So let me go through it with you. There's
Goodness.
there's like farms and villages, and then there's towns where there's like a little bit more going on.
They're
And
the
then
same thing.
next up would be cities. And so these cities, farms, towns, villages are all there's a bunch of them within a state, like a mini kingdom. And then there is a bigger kingdom that is in charge of all of these mini kingdoms.
Your existence is complex.
It is indeed complex and generally confusing. Where you're from, is there like a lot of nature and trees and stuff?
I No, not really. I don't really see a lot of nature. It's full of people. There's bakeries baking bread in the morning. There's this smell of iron, ash, and bread just wakes you up every morning.
That sounds like a one-third delicious at least.
Well, one third of the thing I said being delicious does check out. Yes,
um, I guess a good question. What is your favorite food from your land?
custard pies.
Custard pies. We have those here. So that's pretty cool.
Like what kind of custard are we talking about?
I mean, what do you mean what kind of custard?
Well,
I
I
don't
don't know,
I don't
like
really know
blackberry custard, boysenberry custard.
all of them. Those are all words that I know, so I think we have all of these things.
I'm no baker, so I don't know how to make a custard.
Neither do I, but I can buy one. So what do you do for I guess like a living? Like what do you do for a job?
As stated before, I am a bard. I go on adventures with companions. It varies and changes out a lot, but we do adventures. And I, of course, am the performer of the group.
I see. So what do you use to perform? Because bards traditionally have an instrument, right?
That is correct. Yes. No, I am a bard of the theater instead. I act out. I use my words instead.
Oh, I see, I see. Is that because the Gith Zerai? It sounds like you guys are like really into like theater and all that sort of
I want to say that I am my own person who came to this conclusion myself that I wanted to pursue theater ix, but yes, there probably is some connection between being a Githzerai and being a bard of the theater.
very cool, very cool. So I I gotta be honest, I have kind of an invasive question for you that might be bordering on slightly inappropriate.
I'm I'm prepared.
So there's a stereotype in my land that bards are particularly inclined towards sexual deviancy.
Ah,
And
promiscuity, yes.
yes, and based off your mermaid story earlier, it kind of seems like it adds up, but I don't know if that was like a one and done or if that's a regular event for you.
Well, that was Petunia. She and I were in love, but I, I get around, but I wouldn't label myself as a sexual deviant. No, far more bards are far worse than I am. Honestly, I think the bard colleges are to blame for that kind of behavior.
What do the bard colleges do that
Oh,
creates that?
bard colleges, it's schooling. I don't know if they have school where you're
Oh,
from.
we have
It
schools and
seems not.
colleges. I'm just more intrigued about how they promote sexual promiscuity.
It's just the environment in general. The one I went to was very different. But most Bard colleges are very lax. There's a lot of drug paraphernalia being passed around. Again, a lot of promiscuity.
That sounds honestly pretty similar to our colleges that we have here.
Unfortunate. I apologize.
So, can I ask you a further invasive question on this same topic?
Uh, sure.
So, I have a definition of like what getting around would imply in our land. What is that for you? Like what's your body count?
My body counts. Like how many people I've slain, or
I yeah, you know what? We'll get there. I was looking for how many people you've bedded in the biblical sense.
I see. Well, that again, my number is quite low as far as bards go because I definitely again am a man of the theater. Therefore, I'm a romantic by heart, so I can't fornicate with somebody that I don't feel closely romantically attracted to. But my number, I would say, 113.
113, as in 113?
That is correct. Yes. Again, it is pretty low. I know.
So what would be like what would you say the average number is for a bard that isn't of your sort of romantic inclination?
Many of the other bards I've met are in the 700s.
That is that is quite a few.
It's an epidemic, I'm telling you.
Yeah, 113 is also quite high.
It's the bard colleges. I told you, it's their upbringing. They're not as strict as my school was. I have a degree from Gouliard.
From Gouliard?
Gouliard, yes, it's a. Sure, I know a theater school ran by necromancers and liches leaves a strange taste in your mouth at first, but it's really quite an enriching curriculum.
I'm sorry, I'm speechless over the name Gouliard. That's quite a pun if it is
Well,
run by necromancers and literal ghouls, but I mean
there are
it makes
ghouls,
sense.
yes.
It makes a lot of sense. I don't know why I'm questioning it. So you said you go on quests with a group or
Yes,
groupings of other people. Like
that is correct, yes.
what inspired you to do that? Like what inspired you to go on adventure?
It's either this or lead a boring life as a smith and die young.
What kind of smith would you be if you weren't an adventurer?
I'm a wordsmith, obviously.
Would you still be a bard if you didn't adventure and just be a little bit more homebody, I guess? Like work in a local tavern?
Well, with my education, yes, my degree would have landed me performing in some sort of clubs or maybe an acting troupe, but those I feel are just not as adventurous for me. I do crave the adrenaline rush you get.
Speaking of which, we gotta go back to you said when I said body count, you said how many people you've slain. What is that body count for how many people you've slain?
That is quite low. I'd say I haven't reached triple digits. I'm maybe in the 70s. It's not a lot.
And how do you feel about that?
I feel like it's a pretty low number. I could be doing better, of course, but I usually don't jump into the fray in fights. I leave that to my compatriots, and it is me who's regaling them with strong words to embolden them for the fight.
So, are you familiar with the term cheerleader?
I'm not familiar with this. No.
So, in my land, cheerleader is, I mean, kind of the same thing, like they embolden and um what's the word that I'm looking for? And kind of like promote and hype up their companions to do while they're trying to do great feats of like physical effort and things.
Do they also murder people with their words?
Less so with that. Sometimes yes, but we call that bullying that's gone really far. It's not as common.
Well, one of the many skills under the bard's repertoire is what's known as vicious mockery. What we are able to do is transcribe our magic and thoughts into words, essentially mocking the enemy, and it does hurt them and can sometimes kill them.
And that's just like if you spit out good enough combinations of words, someone will just
Bars,
keel
yes,
over and die.
correct.
So if you spit, do you usually do what like you're a man of the theater. Do you usually do like a poetry style? Is there a like do you like
It
to rhyme? Is it more like a haiku where it's like certain syllables?
I usually stick to their appearances, their smells, their mothers, and how fornicating them would devastate their fragile minds.
Okay, so you just straight insult them.
That
It,
vicious mockery is indeed yes.
yeah, I would say we have people that do that here as well. Doesn't always result in death, but it doesn't not do it. So, what kind of quests have you been on where you've brutally murdered people with your fantastic use of language?
Ugh, that is quite a question. It's like asking someone how they spent their last decade. I've definitely gone and overthrown kingdoms. I've delved deep into the underground and fought many drow, and I've cascaded castles and delved into dragons' dens. That's really an open-ended question.
Okay, well, it may be an easier question. What is your favorite quest that you've been on?
My favorite quest, I think, has just been a very simple one. It was one of my first. It was just me, no other adventurers, and it was just delivering a grandmother's cookies to her granddaughter. That was a very simple one, and it really, really gave me an enriching sort of feeling for the people.
I see. I see. So you just sort of like had a local task to do, and it was
Yes.
nice. And
It was very
what
quite
is
simple. Nobody needed to die. I did fornicate with the grandmother, yes.
Oh, good. That was my next question is whether you fornicated with the grandmother. Um, s- what about her did you love? Since you said that you're romantic, I'm curious what inspired that thing between you guys.
I don't understand like what part of her physiology aroused me. Is that what this question is leading towards?
No, I mean you said you were kind of a romantic, so I was curious what part of her you kind of started to love that led to your intimate interaction.
Well, I do have a fondness for creatures that like to bake.
Ah, so it was the baked goods that got you.
Yes.
I see, I see. Um, so, did fornicating with the grandma have anything to do with this being your favorite quest?
Not quite. I've had other milestones that are far greater to me, but that is neither here nor there. No, it was really just the first one I did on my own, as my own person, that I really had a connection with.
I see,
Nobody
I
had
see.
to die. It was just I left feeling good that day.
Gotcha. What would you say that your least favorite quest is that you've ever been on?
I think my least favorite was I had to convince a centaur clan to move out of their forest, and
Why?
because I was sort of falsely betrothed to their princess, and
And that meant they needed to move?
well, no, it was a long tale, but essentially I had to marry the princess of the centaur clan in order to relocate them. Because
So,
only the king of the centaurs is able to make the decisions for the clan.
So, was the quest that you needed to move the centaurs so then you got into a false relationship with the centaur princess or queen?
That is essentially it, yes. But
How long were
I
you in this fake relationship?
2 hours. I found it impossible to perform.
I have a lot of questions. I need you to clarify.
I'd like no questions on this matter.
So you were only in a relationship with her for 2 hours, but you managed to move the clan in that time?
We were unable to consummate the marriage,
Oh,
and
so
we
you
were
were.
unable to get the Centaur clan to move.
I see. So you were unsuccessful.
That is why it is not a fond adventure.
So do you mean that you guys were only married for 2 hours before you couldn't get it up?
Cor- Now, first of all, Pepperjack is always able to arise to the occasion, but that is also a horse. It is. There's a horse vagina right there, and I do have standards.
And that standard is above horse vaginas?
I mean, I'm below a horse vagina, but yes,
Like physically or staturally?
our
Staturally?
horses really small in your land, or how do horses work?
I mean, I guess to me, a horse vagina would probably be above my waistline by a fair
Correct.
amount.
There you go.
So is that what you meant, or did you mean that horses have a higher standing than a Githzerai?
Well, I was making a joke based on the height of the horse, but no,
Oh,
it is
I
a horse,
see.
and I do not wish to fornicate with a horse.
I see, I see. I understand.
You really enjoy delving into my promiscuity.
Well, I gotta tell you, 113 is quite high
It's
for
low.
our land.
I've already told you that it is a very low number.
Okay, I apologize that you're right. 113 is a very low number. It's just, quite high for being a very low number.
Oh, well, okay then. What is the average sexual body count for you people, you humans?
That's a great question that I do not have the answer to. Have you heard of Google while you've been here?
Google.
Google, yeah. It's like a machine that you can ask kind of any question you want, and usually you'll get some sort of, I don't know, like well put together answer, I guess. Informative. Sometimes not at all, but it gives you
It
a
just
pretty
sounds
solid
like an
answer.
automaton with a library knowledge.
Yeah, pretty much, basically.
It took you a long time to find those words.
It did. It did. It did indeed. So, moving on from your sexually promiscuous centaur
Yes,
fornication
yes, yes, yes.
and grandma fornicating,
Right.
have you ever gone on a quest about your uh purple curse?
I I don't know what you mean.
Well, you said you were cursed with this like purple skin. Have you ever tried going on a quest to lift that curse?
I Unfortunately, it can't be undone. The curse is too strong for treatment short of divine intervention. The Mermaid King is they're way too powerful. The Mermaid King is akin to a god.
So like you've never tried.
I mean, I've tried, but there's no kind of magic that can stop it. I've seen many people about this, but as I said, Mermaid Kings are basically gods.
I see.
He I mean, it could have been worse. I got off a little bit light, in my opinion. He originally wanted me to have tentacles for the face as well, but I did have a really good lawyer.
Oh, so this was like a whole court case thing.
Ah, yes, it was.
And this is what a judge decided was that you are purple but with no tentacles?
The judge was the king, so I definitely needed to bring my A game to this trial.
Is that the name of your lawyer, A game?
No, my lawyer was actually a bugbear named Morgan and Morgan.
Morgan and Morgan. And what exactly is a bugbear? Is it like a really large bug the size of a bear, or a
You don't
a
have
really
bugbears either.
small bear the size
What an
of a bug?
exhausting world. No, bugbears. I don't know where their name comes from, actually, but they are large, hairy, beast like humanoids.
Interesting. How big is large?
7 foot?
Oh, so yeah, large.
I'd
Gotcha.
say more than that. Like, my lawyer was definitely around 7 feet, but I think they could go even bigger.
That is yeah, what's like the biggest creature in your world? Like if you had to take a guess for the
I
largest one.
there's creatures unfathomable, but I think the largest I've ever seen is a dragon, and he was sleeping, so I didn't really get a full scope of his physical capabilities.
Oh, so you guys have dragons over there.
Well, of course,
That's wild. Yeah, we got none of those here. We have like we got lizards. That's
we
about it.
we have lizards too. That's not impressive.
They're quite small. I didn't say it was. I was just letting you know that we got lizards.
We have lizard men. They're men who are lizards.
Yeah, we don't. I don't think we have any of those. We used to have very big lizard-like creatures. We call them dinosaurs, but they died off like thousands and thousands of years ago.
Is a giant lizard not just a dragon?
Well, they didn't have. Well, some of them had wings, but they were more like birds, I guess, than dragons.
A dragon is not a bird. I don't know.
I
I
know
don't
that's
know where
why.
that comparison is coming
Well,
from.
I was staying because some of them had wings. Because I was gonna say they didn't have wings, but you know,
So
I said
then
they're generally speaking more like a bird than a dragon, so they're a little different.
I would ask you what the difference is then.
Between a bird and a dragon, or a dinosaur and a dragon?
Yes, the second one, because a bird is definitely not a dragon, but these dinosaurs, which were lizards with wings, were birds, not dragons. That defies all logic. I don't understand
Well,
how
I meant
you get
in
from
like
point A to point B.
I meant look, so some lots of the dinosaurs did not have wings. So I feel like therefore not very similar to dragons other than being large beasts. But there were dinosaurs that had wings, but they operated more as a bird would than a dragon would. Like they didn't have. Do dragons have legs or just back legs? Like do they have
Of
4 legs or 2 legs?
uh, it depends on the dragon. There are wyverns, which are two-legged dragons, so there are different types of dragons.
I see. Well, anyway, yeah, dinosaurs not like dragons.
I don't understand how, but it is your world. It is a
Well,
weird world, but
look, we'll look
it
it up.
is yours.
We'll look it up
Yes.
on the Google machine later, and I'll show you some pictures of what a dragon traditionally looks like for us, and we can cross compare some notes.
What do you
Um,
mean how a dragon tradition? So you have dragons.
we have the concept of dragons. We don't have
What the
any
fuck is
here
that? You
anymore.
have the concept of a dragon.
Well, like,
I have the
uh,
concept of time magic, but that doesn't mean I what?
like dragons don't exist. So if at one point they did, they're extinct. But we don't really have any proof that they existed
But you
once. So
have
like,
photos.
no, maybe like drawings would be a better way to describe it. We have drawings of
You
dragons.
you have you have drawings of a concept of a thing that doesn't exist in your world.
Yeah, but I like maybe one of them flew in on the astral sea for a minute and then flew out, and that's how we
You
got them.
are not playing with a full deck.
Are you saying I'm crazy?
I'm saying maybe this world of yours is crazy. You and your Casablanca and dragons that aren't dragons, but there are dragons, but those weren't dragons, they were birds. None of it makes sense.
Look, I didn't say it necessarily did, but I mean, well, your world is just as complicated and interesting as ours. I mean, you guys run around and pick up fucking quests from like a job
Oh,
posting board, and
I
that's
mean,
how
we walk.
you.
We don't always run everywhere. That's it. Walking is just fine. It conserves the energy.
Okay, well, you walk around, pick jobs off job boards, go and maybe murder people, sometimes have sex with people, and then get paid at the end of the day.
And what you do is different.
Yeah, I go to the same sort of job, kind of like a smithy every day. Go to the same sort of job for, like 8 hours a day for 5 days out of the week, and then I have 2 days where I do whatever I want.
I mean, it doesn't seem that different to me, but potato, potato.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, we're both getting paid, right? Hopefully.
Correct. I am getting paid. Yes. Sometimes in wishes, sometimes in acorns, sometimes in gold coins. Those are the good days.
I was gonna say, so like, what's the best thing you've ever been paid for a quest that isn't gold coins? Because obviously, gold coins you can, go and spend places.
I think the best gift I've ever been given was a phase spider egg.
And what exactly is that?
An egg. It is essentially
No,
a
like
shell that
a phase spider.
a, well, a phase spider like your spiders, but they're not the small spiders that don't drop anything. They are big spiders, and these spiders they are able to jump through portals and through reality itself.
Do
So,
you ride them through the portals?
oh, you cannot do that. They are far too mean for that. But you are able to harvest their silk.
So do you just like have a phase spider and harvest it for silk, and
That
then
is
it
an
jumps
excellent
around?
question. The answer is no.
What did you do with this egg then?
I sold it.
Oh, I see. So that was the like highest price item you've ever received, or what?
It was the highest price, yes.
I
I,
see.
I sold it to a tiny cafe that was able to make a delicious omelet out of it.
Nice. Did you eat the omelet?
I did, yes. It was a big egg, so it made a lot of omelets. The only problem is I did feel hungry about 30 minutes later because the omelet phased out of my stomach.
Ha ha! Brumch. It's a good joke. It's a good joke. Did the omelet interdimensionally teleport then?
I assume so.
That's actually really
I don't
hilarious.
know how. I would not be able to tell. I didn't throw
So,
it up.
would does the cafe get any like flack or negative reviews when their omelets phase out of people's bellies?
They serve more than just phase spider eggs, but for the
But
phase
in
spider
the
eggs, it's
event,
definitely more of an experience. You do
I
sign a
see.
waiver.
I see. So you do know what you're getting into when you eat the omelet is that eventually it will vacate itself from your digestive
I
system.
I cannot imagine that anybody in my world would eat a phase spider egg and think something else would happen. It's
I
kind of
see.
like common sense, you know? Like
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
you don't crawl into a lake and breathe.
That's fair. Does it always phase like when it's in your stomach, or is it sometimes phasing when it's in your intestines? Does it sometimes phase after you've shit it out?
I do have a companion. His name is Trout. He's a Goliath with no tongue, but it did not phase for him until midway through pooping. It
Oh,
just disappeared.
that's got to make wiping really easy.
He has no tongue, so he was not able to reveal to me what had happened. But
Is he also illiterate?
he has no tongue. He's
No, can he read and write?
he's a Goliath, so no, he cannot read or write.
So I guess what is a Goliath?
A giant. They are giant humanoids. They're very dumb though.
Oh, I was gonna say what makes them incapable of reading and writing. Like, is the text too small?
Stupid, stupid, stupid.
So they're just dumb. What other companions do you have?
I've had many companions over the years. Trout is one I've definitely been around a good while. One of my other companions was a ranger named Sildra, very pompous elf type. Cannot stand those. Had a half orc cleric. A weird one, that. Do you want me to just name them all off? Because I've got like 36 here.
Well, why don't you finish telling us about the half-orc cleric since you started?
I mean, he
You
was
said
an
he was
odd one.
weird.
What else is there to say?
Well, I guess what made him odd?
Well, his name was Bono. It's a weird name to have.
Bono, the half-orc
Bono.
cleric.
Bono.
Was that the only thing that was
Bono?
weird about him? Is that his name was Bono?
I mean, what else would be... yes. I mean, he talked about church a lot, but that's what you get with a cleric.
Interesting. What religions do you guys have over there?
As many as there are gods.
I take it there's a lot of gods.
Of course there's a lot of gods. How many gods are on your world? Let's start with that.
A lot.
Yeah, see?
Do you
Will you list them off for me?
I don't know all of them, I'm sorry. Do you follow any particular religion?
Me?
In your land?
No.
Is that like a Gith Zerai thing or a you thing?
It's just a me thing. I've seen many things to alter my faith. You know, there's sometimes on an adventure, you see crazy things. You'll see children burning, and after you burn them, it does stick with you.
Do you guys have therapy there? Because, like, from my understanding, people go around and kill each other a lot.
What sort of medicine is that?
Well, it's like a doctor that talks to you about your mind and your thoughts and how to generally cope with seeing horrible things, like the children burning.
That is a useless profession. Do you pay these people?
Yeah, usually a lot of money.
You see a doctor, but the doctor does not do any of the doctor. He just talks, and that makes you feel good?
Yeah, it's like a talking doctor, and they make you feel better about the shitty things in your life and kind of coach you through it.
I have been to a doctor that made me feel good, but it is because he cured me of my superficial wounds.
Oh, you know
But
what?
that's not...
So you think a mind doctor's fucking stupid?
Well, it's not really a mind doctor, is it? Is it repairing your mind?
Kinda. I
Well,
think
what
you should.
sort of...
I think while you're here, you should look into it. It might really, really evolve your life.
We'll see about that. I'm not sure if that's quite my forte.
I see. So I have a question for you. We've kind of talked about.
You've had several questions, yes.
Well, yeah, it's an interview. That's how that happens. You know, like we kind of talked about what started you adventuring and some of the adventures that you've had. What brought you to this place in particular?
What brought me to your plane? This
Yes.
earth.
Yes, this earth that we're on.
Well, I am chasing a chrono mage down who has the ability to turn time back, and that is a very bad power to have. Naturally, you'd understand why. So I have been pursuing him for a long time, and he's found his way to Earth, and I've just been following the trail, and here I am.
You should talk to Cher.
Cher?
Yeah, she is also hunting down someone of similar powers.
Interesting.
Yeah, she wrote a whole song about it.
Another bard.
Yeah.
So this bard is looking for this chrono mage as well.
Yeah, she thinks that if she could turn back time, if she could find a way, then she could complete her heart quest.
Ah, so she's looking to use this mage's power, not stop him like I want to. So
yes,
she is an enemy.
Maybe, but she might have a lead for you to follow.
This Cher has made a rival this day.
I think you would like Cher, actually. I know you guys have kind of like opposite interests in your quest at the moment, but Cher is an exceptional bard. And she is fantastic in the theater.
I will have to investigate this Cher more.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. I think you guys would, I don't know if you'd get along, but I think you would like her.
This Cher. What? Is that just her full name? Is it a nickname like Pepperjack?
It is a nickname like Pepperjack. She does have a full name, but Cher is kind of what she's known by.
Fascinating.
Are you aware that on our planet your nickname is a cheese?
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know what that means where
So your
you're
cheese
from.
is called Pepperjack.
We have a cheese called Pepperjack. We have lots of cheeses. One of them is called Pepperjack.
I've never seen a Pepperjack cheese in my realm before, no.
Oh, you should try Pepperjack cheese while you're here. It's a white cheese with some peppers in it.
I look forward to this meal.
I think you'll have a good time. So you're chasing a chrono mage. I guess like where are you at in that quest?
I've made it here. I don't know where in this world he is. His name is Gathro. He's an evil time mage, so I am pursuing him. If you see where this Gathro time mage is, please let my compatriot Bradley know. You can find him at Bradley's house, and he will get the message directly to me. Thank you. That is the sole reason I agreed to have this interview.
Oh, you know what? You're right. I actually forgot that that was the reason that you agreed to do this. I guess while we're doing this kind of like PSA in the middle of our interview, can you describe the Chrono Mage so that if people see him, they know what they're looking at to inform you or inform Bradley?
Well, he is basically humanoid. He is just human. He does have short black hair that has like a swoof in front. It's weird, and he has the tiniest mustache just directly beneath his nostril.
Just like a little mustache, but
It's like part of a mustache. It's, you know how a mustache, like my mustache, goes out. It's like
yes.
shrink that down into just like a strip.
Okay, so just like a little strip mustache.
Correct.
Interesting. How do you go about hunting down this guy, especially when have you ever been to our plane before? Like, is this easy to navigate, or is this kind of your first time tracking someone through here?
This is definitely the first time I've been here, and it is quite an experience. I feel like a fish out of water, and normally I'm able to see where any kind of temporal matter exists, like afterbirth of his time magic, so to speak, but I've been able to find none of that so far.
Interesting. So you look for the afterbirth of magic?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
It is the droppings of when you birth magic. That's why it's called afterbirth. You see,
Is it commonly referred to as afterbirth, and is like doing a spell referred to as birthing magic? Is that like a pretty
yes,
normal
I
vernacular?
I feel like that was pretty cut and dry.
Just seems odd.
What is odd about it?
Well, like how are you producing the magic that we're going to equate it to birthing?
Is creation not birthing?
I suppose, but you can also create art, and I
Then
don't
you
know
are
if I would call
birthing
that.
art.
I suppose. You know what?
You birth art from your mind.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Birth a lot of art from your mind. Got it. So since this whole world's pretty foreign to you, as you've been exploring it, like what's something like super weird that you've come across that maybe I can shed some light on for you?
I think theaters were the highlight, but I there is one that I've been pondering for just nights now. I've had this baba tea. What is this baba tea?
So did you actually have it, or did you just see it on a sign?
I did, yes. It was creamy, milky, and had this like gelatinous, slimy, like tiny spheres.
And you enjoyed it?
I did not know.
Oh, so you did not like
It was
the
like
boba tea?
it was like slurping a frog's eggs out of its own vagina. It is not pleasant. I don't know how. What you people pay for this?
Well, okay. It's technically it's pronounced boba tea, I think, but
Boba tea.
it is short for bubble tea because those little pods in it look like little bubbles.
Those are not bubbles. You
No,
are aware of this.
they're not bubbles. They're just a similar shape where they're just round. But it's essentially tea with milk and sugar, and then those little balls are like little tapioca balls.
Tapioca.
Yeah.
Interesting. Like we do have a tapioca plant where I'm from.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's made from that plant. Yeah, I think it's made from a tapioca plant, I would imagine, is why it's called a little tapioca pearl.
It is increasingly sounding like you don't actually know what you're talking about.
Well, I don't know how to make it exactly, so I wouldn't say that I know what I'm talking about, but
Perhaps we should move on.
yeah, that's okay. That's fine by me. But yeah, it's tea, milk, sugar, tapioca balls. So since we're on the subject, is there anything now that you've kind of seen our world that you think we would find super mind blowing?
In what manner?
I don't know, maybe like visually or like a day-to-day thing that you think we as the audience would find super interesting about your world.
I mean, we magic is way more fluid in our world and not contained in like small devices like this world.
Yeah, that's fair. That's yeah, that's fair. We just have like little magical boxes we stick in our pockets. And they're
Yes,
not.
we are able to weave the forces of nature and do whatever we wish with them.
Yeah, we don't do that. We weave like baskets.
That is just strange.
Well, is it so if anybody sees this chrono mage
Gathro?
uh Gathro, well yeah, contact you. You said that you're getting into email. Do you
Yes.
have an email so that they can email you and like send you a drawing of him if they see him?
Yes, it is Pepperjack.
Uh-huh.
That's it.
That's the email, just Pepperjack, not at anything.
Uh, it is at me.
I see. So that's kind of all the questions that I have for you. Do
Of
you
course, I do have places to go, people to see, time mages to hunt.
do you have any parting words for our listeners?
Yes, cease this baba. You do not need this baba.
Boba.
Boba. You do not need boba. It is gross.
All right, you've heard it straight from the Githzerai's mouth.
You do
Cease the
not want
Baba.
frogs to hatch in your intestines. That is just utterly disgusting. Maybe you do want frogs in your intestines. I don't know.
What if they were phase frogs? Would you eat the Baba then?
Do you have phase frogs?
No, I'm saying what if we don't have phase frogs? I'm just presenting a hypothetical.
Well, then they would phase away. I don't understand the question.
But would you eat the
What
Baba?
what is the point of a what if question? That is not reality.
Yeah, it's called a hypothetical for a reason.
Well, then hypothetically it potentially could teleport away. I don't what
I
the
mean,
same
would you still eat it? If it was
No,
a phase frog, would you eat it? Or is it
frogs
like
are
different?
disgusting.
Okay, so it's just because it's frogs.
Do you eat frogs?
Some people do.
Gross. You
I've never
people are
tried it.
disgusting.
Well,
Just sacks of wind just tumbling around. Well, okay, so we've discussed, we've come to agreements, we've come to disagreements. It has been educational to say the least. I do have to be on my way as you must as well. So you end your little what is this?
well, this is a podcast.
Podcast. Right, that is what Bradley said, yes. All right, we
Yes.
will end this podcast.
Yes, so it's been very nice speaking to you. I really appreciated you answering all of my questions, including the very invasive ones about your fornication history. For the last part of our podcast, we do a welcome to We Have New Tunes at Home, which is where we suggest new music. Do you have any bard songs that you think the people
Again,
should know
I'm
about?
not a very musical bard, but one music always comes to mind. It's The Winds of Gajimir. It's always been pleasant on my ears.
What do you like about it? Like, is it like a high stakes song, gentle, slow? What kind of
Very
vibe?
gentle, has uses violins. I do
Nice.
enjoy the violin.
That sounds lovely. We'll have to look it up. Since Gamage is MIA, his song pick of the week is the newly released collaboration of Willie Nelson and Orville Peck covering Cowboys Are Frequently Secretly Fond of Each Other. It's a song that Willie Nelson previously covered, but was originally written and sang by Ned Sublette, unsure, in like I think 1981. It's a gay song about gay cowboys, cowgays.
Cowboy.
Yeah, it's like
Is this like an adolescent minotaur?
yes, exactly. That's
I
exactly
see.
what that
So you
is.
have minotaurs. Okay, good. There's
Yes,
some
so
familiarity here.
yeah, it's an adolescent minotaur, but it's a gay adolescent minotaur.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nope, nothing at all. Cowgays. And then my song pick for the week is Too Drunk to Drive by Hey Nothing. Sort of like an indie alt vibe. I guess I think some of their songs are a little punky, but that one I don't think really is. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you, Pepperjack, for being part of our podcast. Hopefully
Thank you for
Gamage.
having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Anytime. If you liked what you heard or you just fucking hate us, please like and subscribe on whatever your most favorite is podcasting places. If you want us to talk about a thing, you want to learn more about the difference between a Githzerai or a Githyanki, you can Google that. Don't bother us with that. But either way, email us at whtpah@gmail.com. That's wootpa@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at We Have That Podcast at Home or WHTPAH Woodpa on Blue Sky. And next week, pending Gamage's Mortal Doom, we shall be covering the beautiful and lovely topic of.
What is this enchantment? What are you casting? Witch!
You're dead now, bitch! No, I'm just kidding. I was making a sound.
Oh. That startled me.
Sorry, it was a joke. Maybe poorly stated, since you're from a land where people do murder each other at random.
No, it was quite a ruse, but I was just unstartled is all. Unprepared.
That's fair. That's fair.
I enjoy the jape.
Okay, I'm glad you enjoyed the jest. Next week we will be covering Wild Card.
A wild card.
Yeah, you go out into the woods, because that's where the wilderness is, and you have to find a card on the ground.
That seems easy enough.
This has been We Have That Podcast at Home. I have been Off-Brand Rachel. This has been Pepperjack.
Farewell.
And like he said, farewell.